My sister swiped my gold bracelet and took my place as the ghost bride. She even had the nerve to show it off to me. LOL, if I'd known she was going to steal it, I would have told her it was a cursed engagement gift from a vengeful spirit. A few days ago, I got a package. Since I wasn't home, my sister signed for it. I told her a million times not to touch my stuff, but my sister just rolled her eyes. That crappy package of yours? Like anyone would want it. I actually believed she wasn't interested. But when I got home, I found the package ripped open. My sister was sitting on the couch painting her nails. When she saw me, she immediately turned away, rolled her eyes, and said, well, some people are so busy all day, coming home this late. People might think you're in some kind of special profession. My eye twitched. I couldn't help but snap back, whatever I do, it's better than you freeloading off mom and dad. My sister, Wendy, graduated from college 6 months ago. She hasn't even tried to find a job, while I dropped out of school early to work and support the family. Even so, my mom still makes me hand over $3,000 of my salary every month. And most of the money I give her, she turns around and gives to Wendy, who just messes around. You could say I'm supporting Wendy right now. As soon as I said that, her face darkened. None of your business. If you're so great, get mom to support you. It's your fault we're so poor, you jinx. My face went cold, and I didn't want to argue with her. Where's my package? Where did you put it? Wendy looked flustered and wouldn't meet my eyes. Who knows about your stupid package? I opened it, saw it was junk, and tossed it. As she said that, she got up to go to her room, but I noticed something off. Her usually bare wrist now had a sparkly gold bracelet on it. Under the fluorescent lights, the arm wearing the bracelet had a weird, ghostly blue-white pallor. Even though she tried to hide it, I saw it. I grabbed her wrist. Narrowing my eyes, I asked, "Where did you get that bracelet?" Wendy was startled by my intensity. She yanked her hand away, pushing me. "It's mine, what? You want it? Go earn your own money and buy one." I stared at her, a smirk playing on my lips. "Are you sure it's yours? Then what about the contents of my package?" Seeing her lie exposed, Wendy dropped the act and yelled. "So what if I took it? Someone as unlucky as you would just waste it. And you have money for expensive jewelry? It's probably fake anyway. What are you so precious about? What's the big deal if I wear it for a few days?" Wendy never treated me like an older sister. All because a fortune teller said I was a reincarnated bad omen when I was born. The year mom had me, dad died in a factory accident. And mom got fired from the factory too. One thing after another, mom blamed it all on me. Later, mom remarried my stepfather. Then she had Wendy, and things at home got better. It seemed like good times were finally here, but a few years later, my stepfather also died in an accident. The repeated blows crushed my mom. Everyone in the village thought mom jinxed her husbands. Mom wouldn't accept that, so she blamed it all on me, convinced I was the unlucky one. Mom treated me badly, and Wendy learned to do the same. Growing up, all the good food and drinks in the house went to my sister. When I got into college, mom said there was no money for my tuition. Wendy got into some bottom-tier college, and the family sold everything to send her. I didn't really care that mom favored my sister, I had my own little plans. Just then, mom came out of the bedroom and heard us. All right, what's all the shouting about late at night? Just give the bracelet to your sister. How much could it be worth? Everything in this house belongs to your sister. If it weren't for your sister, you wouldn't have even lived this long. You need to learn to be grateful. Give it to her. Since when have I not given her things? And I'm supposed to be grateful to Wendy? I glanced at my mom, then looked at Wendy. Are you sure you want this bracelet? No regrets? Usually, it wouldn't matter, but the bracelet in this package wasn't just some ordinary trinket. Seeing Mom back her up, Wendy was full of confidence. "I want this bracelet, and you're going to give it to me today, whether you like it or not." I smiled, suddenly relieved. "You said it yourself. I didn't force you." I looked at the bracelet. Seeing the bluish-white aura on her hand creeping up her neck, I pretended to be reluctant. "All right then, you have to wear it properly. This thing is worth a lot of money. I'd be heartbroken if it got damaged." This bracelet was indeed valuable, but it wasn't something you could just take without consequences. It was an engagement gift from a vengeful spirit. Accepting the gift meant agreeing to marry it. Wendy had no idea about the vengeful spirit's engagement gift. This whole thing was just her bad luck. I work at a funeral home during the day and moonlight as a reaper at night. That's right, the kind of reaper you're thinking of. I don't know why the underworld chose me, but hey, they said being a reaper is like being a civil servant. I've always been frail, and I've been able to see spirits since I was 8. The folks from the underworld said I wouldn't live past 30 anyway, so I might as well start my training early. That way, I wouldn't have to take an exam after I died. I figured, why not? It's a steady job. So, I work nights, guiding lost souls. Recently, there's been this restless spirit, wandering the mortal realm for decades because it doesn't know how it died, so it hasn't reincarnated. Because its resentful spirit lingered, it attached itself to its earthly belongings. A group of reckless high schoolers went to a haunted house to mess with spirits and summoned it. This vengeful spirit, bored out of its skull, started sending people packages, calling them engagement gifts. And everyone who received a package ended up dead or maimed. The underworld ordered me to find this resentful spirit and help it move on. So, I contacted the deceased's family, got his belongings, trying to find some clues. And wouldn't you know it, the package arrived, only to be intercepted by my pain in the neck sister. As a reaper, I'm immune to curses, but if an ordinary person touches this stuff, it's a bad omen. Wendy thought she'd hit the jackpot. She went back to her room, all giddy, spent ages putting on makeup and a new dress, saying she was going out on a date. She had a boyfriend she'd only known for a little over a month. They met at a pool hall. He said he was a rich kid, so Wendy was determined to land him. That's why she wasn't even going to her classes. Now, she was all excited, wearing the bracelet and ready to show off. I tried to warn her, I wouldn't wear that out on a date if I were you. Seeing me stare at her, Wendy smirked. What? Trying to ruin my fun? No one's interested in an ugly duckling like you. Once I snag a rich guy in our family's living the good life, this bracelet will have played its part. My mom chimed in happily from the side. That's right, Wendy, go for it. Our family's future depends on you. You have to lock down this rich kid. If you need money, just ask Mom. Then she shot me a sarcastic look. Not like some people, no education, no looks, only good for manual labor. I shrugged. Fine, I tried to warn them, but these two wouldn't listen. I watched Wendy leave, and the bluish-white aura on her arm had now spread to her face. A shadowy human figure loomed faintly beside her. I let out a long sigh. Looks like there's a show to watch. Most reapers work the night shift. We work in 2 shifts. My daytime reaper colleague heard I got the package from that resentful spirit and called me in the middle of the night. I saw a ghostly face grinning mischievously on my phone screen. Awesome. That resentful spirit has been roaming our district for over 10 years, and we could never catch it. It's been causing trouble everywhere, and we always come up empty. You actually dared to take its stuff. I waved my hand, standing on the rooftop, shouldering my soul-splitting hook. Watching Wendy leave the apartment complex, I said lazily. A worker's gotta work. We have to face challenges head-on. My reaper colleague gave me a thumbs up. You and you're facing challenges. I see your sister's wearing that cursed thing. What, did she steal your stuff again? She steals everything. It's going to get her killed. Tell me about it. What can you do? Her parents spoiled her rotten. My Reaper colleague sighed deeply, taking a drag from a ghost cigarette. If it weren't for the fact that your family's life force can heal your negative energy, I'd say you should have ditched this toxic family a long time ago. That's right, I was born with an excess of negative energy, and I wasn't supposed to live long. I have to live with my blood relatives, using their positive energy to nourish my negative energy, just to stay alive. So, no matter how badly my parents and sister treat me, I don't get angry. After all, if I didn't have them, I really would have ended up in the underworld early. I squatted on the rooftop all night and collected 2 minor ghosts. When it was time for the shift change, Wendy came home. I immediately went home, wrapped myself in a blanket, and pretended to be asleep. Until I heard footsteps near my ear and heavy breathing. I looked up and saw it was Wendy. Her skin was so pale it didn't look normal. She reached out as if to strangle me, her bright red nails looking like they were dripping blood, so red it was jarring. When she saw my eyes open, she quickly pulled her hand back. "What are you doing?" Wendy glanced at me, looking a bit panicked. Nothing, I just wanted to ask where the face wash is. Mine's finished. Didn't I ask you to buy some last time? Why haven't you bought it yet? Her demanding tone made me uncomfortable. Oh, I forgot to buy it. She glared at me and left the room. I couldn't help but ask, how was your night? What did you do with that rich guy? Did anything happen? Wendy turned back to stare at me, her pale face dominated by her bright red lips. She seemed to recall something, smiled suggestively, then said sarcastically, "What do you think happens between a man and a woman? Why are you asking? Are you, an old maid nobody wants, desperate for a man?" Before I could reply, she grabbed her clothes and went to take a shower. But the dark energy around her had disappeared. What happened? Just then, a blood-curdling scream erupted from the bathroom. I immediately ran to the bathroom door and asked, feigning concern, "What's wrong?" Good chance, I immediately drew my soul-splitting hook. As soon as that resentful spirit appeared, I'd definitely hook its neck. But my mom rushed over and pushed me aside. "Wendy? What happened? Tell Mom." After a while, Wendy came out of the bathroom. Her face was as white as a sheet. She was wrapped in a bath towel, trembling as she pointed to the mirror in the middle of the bathroom. I just saw blood seeping out of the mirror, lots and lots of blood, and there was a man standing in there. He reached out of the mirror and tried to grab me. Wendy was probably really scared. She stammered for a long time before she could finish a complete sentence. When I heard that, my face lit up. Great, that vengeful ghost must have come out. I pulled Wendy out and examined the mirror for a moment. I found a faint trace of negative energy in the mirror, but no sign of the resentful spirit. It ran away? My mom still didn't believe Wendy saw something spooky, thinking it was a hallucination from staying up all night. But Wendy stubbornly shook her head. No, it definitely wasn't a hallucination. I saw it last night at the hotel too. Listening to Wendy, I turned to look at her and saw that half her face had a bluish-white tinge, clearly a sign of bad luck. Looking at her empty wrist, I grabbed her and asked, "Where's the bracelet you wore out last night?" Wendy looked a little unnatural, quickly pulled her wrist away, and glared at me irritably. "It's lost, gone." "What? You gave it to me, so it's up to me what I do with it, right?" I was speechless at Wendy's twisted logic. "Oh, okay then. If you want to keep being haunted by that bloody man, then pretend I didn't say anything." Frightened by my words, Wendy finally got scared. After all, she knew I could see spooky things. "Did you do this? Is there something wrong with that bracelet? Otherwise, why would I encounter that thing as soon as I put it on, Alice? You're deliberately trying to harm me. My mom also looked at me suspiciously. What exactly is going on? Did you put a curse on your sister? I knew you were up to no good. You've been a rotten kid since you were little, cursing people back then, and now you're doing it to your own sister. I gave my mom a cold look and a strange smile. The cursing my mom was talking about was just because when I was in elementary school, I saw a drowning ghost following a classmate, and I kindly warned him not to go near the river. He ended up yelling at me. A few days later, that kid drowned in the river. Later, his parents somehow heard about it and came to the school asking if I had cursed him. After that, they all decided I was bad luck. My mom agreed with this and blamed me for her husband jinxing. Seeing her bring up the past now, I couldn't help but laugh. Sorry, but this isn't my curse. It was your precious daughter who insisted on snatching the bracelet. I tried to stop her at the time, but you guys insisted. Unexpectedly, when Wendy heard this, her face turned pale, and she was so angry she wanted to rush over and strangle me. I slapped her across the face, so hard my hand turned red. Wendy looked at me like she wanted to kill me. You hit me? I'm your sister. Now you remember you're my sister? Did I force you to wear the bracelet? You snatched it yourself. Now you regret it, but it's probably too late. I shook my stinging hand, looking at her with a half smile. Wendy was stunned by my words, staring at me for a long while before finally asking, "Are you telling the truth? Am I really tainted with something unclean? What exactly is that bracelet?" "It's an engagement gift." "What engagement gift?" Wendy asked, completely bewildered. "Of course, it's an engagement gift from a vengeful spirit. If a living person accepts a dead person's engagement gift, they naturally have to marry them." Wendy stared at me in horror. "No, that bracelet was originally yours. Why should it come after me? Even if it's looking for someone, it should be looking for you. It should be you." Wendy screamed hysterically, frantically pulling at my mom. My mom was also cursing me, wishing me a horrible death, wanting to attack me with the most vicious words imaginable. "Alright, you take your time cursing. When you've calmed down, we'll talk." I plopped down on the sofa and casually scrolled through videos on my phone. About half an hour later, my mom and Wendy, having apparently discussed something, came over. My mom pulled Wendy along. "Quick, take out the bracelet. Give that unlucky thing back to your sister. Let her deal with any trouble. She's always been bad luck anyway." I shot my mom a cold glance. She's my own mother, how can she be so biased? Wendy hesitated for a moment before saying, "The bracelet isn't on me right now. I gave it to my boyfriend. He said my bracelet was fake, so I let him have his friend appraise it." My jaw twitched. After a long pause, I managed to say, "Wow. Then, give me your boyfriend's address. The bracelet must be retrieved, or I'm not responsible for whatever happens." Wendy, stunned, suddenly looked at me and said strangely, "You're not trying to trick me, are you? Trying to use this as an excuse to get close to my boyfriend? Huh, Alice, so that was your plan all along?" I rolled my eyes. Is her brain not fully developed? Are we really from the same mother? I just told her to go get it back herself. Although that vengeful ghost wasn't exactly a super powerful demon, it had been dead for so many years, it still carried some resentment. The bracelet was his engagement gift. Accepting his gift meant promising to marry him. And now Wendy had recklessly given the bracelet to someone else. I didn't know if the curse would transfer, but if this continued, Wendy would definitely die. Wendy refused to tell me her boyfriend's address until red spots started appearing all over her body, gradually spreading to her face. The dense red scars made her entire face swell up. Her skin started peeling off in handfuls, looking exceptionally terrifying. She finally knew to be anxious. My mom, helpless, forced her to reveal the address. When we took a taxi to her boyfriend's place, we found it was a rather remote residential building. I mocked her, "Isn't your boyfriend a rich kid? He lives in a place like this?" Even at a time like this, Wendy was still stubborn. "My boyfriend is new money. His family owns many houses, but he's low-key and usually lives in this one." She anxiously knocked on the door. After a while, we heard someone talking inside the house. But when the door opened, it was a young woman wrapped in a bath towel. She frowned when she saw Wendy and me. "Who are you looking for?" I glanced at Wendy. "You're not going to tell me this woman is his mom, are you?" Wendy's face was already swollen and red. Now her eyes looked like they were about to pop out. She angrily pushed the woman aside and rushed into the house, finding her boyfriend in the bedroom. She grabbed him by the collar and started fighting. "Who is she? Tell me who that tramp is." The rich kid, inexplicably attacked, looked at Wendy, who was all bundled up, and didn't recognize her at first. "Who are you? Where did this crazy woman come from? If you hit me again, I'll call the cops, believe it or not. I'm your girlfriend, Wendy. If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have known what you've been up to behind my back." Wendy was going crazy, and in the struggle, she pulled off her face mask. Her hideous, terrifying face scared the rich kid so much he stumbled backward. "Wendy, what happened to you?" Wendy burst into tears. And the woman who was already there wasn't having it either. The three of them immediately started scuffling. I glanced around. The room was filled with a foul atmosphere. I noticed a thick black aura as soon as I walked in. That vengeful ghost had indeed followed Wendy's rich kid boyfriend. "Where's the bracelet Wendy gave you yesterday?" I hadn't forgotten what was important. The rich kid glanced at me. "What bracelet?" "I don't know." When Wendy heard this, she became even more frantic. "Quick, give me back the bracelet, or I'll die." The rich kid was getting annoyed and desperately tried to push us out. But during the pushing and shoving, the woman who was originally in the room suddenly screamed. A piece of her skin, where Wendy had grabbed her, came right off. She let out a horrifying shriek. I immediately looked over and saw that the woman was wearing the bracelet. It turned out that last night, after the rich kid tricked Wendy out of the bracelet, he gave it to this woman. At this moment, the bracelet seemed to be conscious. It turned blood red, and blood was being absorbed from her wrist. The woman collapsed in pain, her face contorted, clawing at the air, begging the rich kid to save her. The rich kid backed away in terror, not daring to touch her, as if she had some plague. Just like Wendy's situation, or even worse. I immediately rushed forward and quickly tapped the woman's forehead a few times. The woman's face went blank, and the arm wearing the bracelet shriveled up like a dead branch, as if all its life force had been sucked out. I protected the woman's soul, but the bracelet was madly absorbing her essence. That arm was probably a lost cause. I immediately looked up and ordered Wendy and the rich kid, "Get me a kitchen knife." Wendy came to her senses. "Are you going to kill her?" "Kill her? I'm a reaper, not an executioner." I couldn't be bothered to explain to Wendy. However, when the rich kid heard this, he immediately grabbed a kitchen knife from the kitchen and said anxiously, "What's wrong with her? Is she possessed? It won't affect me, will it?" Even at a time like this scumbag was still worried about himself. I was truly impressed. He and Wendy were a match made in heaven. I snatched the kitchen knife from his hand and placed it in front of the woman. At the same time, I cut my own finger and let a drop of blood fall onto the knife. A kitchen knife is an instrument of killing, carrying negative energy. Combined with my reaper's blood, it should be able to suppress an ordinary evil spirit and stop it from causing trouble. I raised the back of the kitchen knife and slammed it onto the bloodthirsty bracelet. The bracelet seemed to sense something and was instantly enveloped in a cloud of black smoke. The bracelet slipped off her wrist, and a black male figure emerged from it. It darted around the room, seemingly looking for its next host. I quickly moved forward and engaged it in a fight. Wendy, who had been hiding nearby, suddenly had an idea and actually pushed me towards the black shadow. Really nice of her, my dear sister. I didn't have time to deal with Wendy right now. I immediately drew my soul-splitting hook and slashed at the black smoke in the air. An invisible barrier instantly spread out. I heard a man's agonizing cry. A pair of blood-red eyes appeared in the black smoke, staring at me intently, as if blaming me for ruining his fun. The next second, the black smoke directly surged into the rich kid's body nearby. Instantly, the rich kid seemed to transform into a different person. He moved stiffly a few times, then actually crashed into the balcony window and jumped out to escape. I was about to chase him, but Wendy clung to my leg tightly. "Sis, don't go, don't go. I'm scared that ghost will come for me." I lifted my leg and kicked her. "Now you remember I'm your sister? When you tried to harm me just now, why didn't you think I was your sister?" I ignored her and jumped out the window after him. But in that short time, he had already vanished. This isn't going to be easy. Looks like I need to call for backup. I pulled out my phone and called my Reaper colleague. I fought that vengeful spirit. It's now possessed a human body and escaped. I don't have jurisdiction in this area, so I can't track him. Can you help me contact the Reapers in the nearby areas to see if they can help with the capture? My Reaper colleague immediately replied. Don't worry, I've already contacted the Reaper in charge of this area. This vengeful spirit is no small matter, its resentment is immense. Be careful it doesn't retaliate against you. After I handled things, I called 911 for the woman who had her blood drained, only to find that Wendy had run off on her own. I was so angry I rolled my eyes. My Reaper colleague quickly gave me an update, saying he had contacted the Reaper in this area, but they wouldn't be able to arrive until later. I waited near the apartment complex for a while, and finally, a young boy who looked like a high school student walked up to me. He had a backpack slung diagonally across his back and wore black framed glasses on his well-behaved, handsome face. I sized him up. You're the Reaper for this district? The Reapers the underworld finds in the human realm come from all walks of life. But age is just a number, because once you become a Reaper, time stops for you, it doesn't move forward. Looks like this colleague was still a high school student when he became a Reaper. Yeah, I saw the message from upstairs. They told me to fully cooperate with you. This high school boy was a bit aloof. He said his name was Steven, pulled out a tablet, and prepared to help me track the spirit. That vengeful spirit, what was his name when he was alive? Don't know. Then when did he die? Not sure about that either. Steven finally looked up at me. You don't know anything, what do you want me to look up? Well, I can try calling to find out. Truth be told, I underestimated this vengeful spirit, thinking I could easily subdue it, so I hadn't investigated thoroughly. Now, being questioned by a guy younger than me, I felt a bit embarrassed. I searched for a while and finally found the vengeful spirit's name from when he was alive. The vengeful spirit's name was Calvin. He had been dead for over 20 years, reportedly from suicide. The underworld has rules. People who die by suicide often have lingering obsessions. Plus, their lifespan wasn't up, so their souls couldn't be reincarnated. They would become earthbound spirits, lingering where they died until their natural lifespan ran out. Until those reckless high schoolers released him. Steven quickly found the current coordinates of the vengeful spirit. Just as I was about to look at the location, he put away his tablet and looked up at me. How do you usually deal with disobedient, powerful ghosts? I don't know why, but looking at Steven, I always felt like I was facing my boss. Well, I usually fight them until they submit and obediently return to the underworld with me. No wonder you have so many bad reviews. You're always at the bottom of the performance rankings, dragging down our entire region's score. How did he know? Forget it. For this ghost hunt, I'll take the lead. You just assist me. Stephen sighed, and the way he looked at me felt a bit strange. Stephen didn't immediately go to capture the vengeful spirit. According to him, the spirit was severely injured by me and probably wouldn't dare to harm anyone for the time being. To completely subdue this spirit, we first needed to understand its motives. For example, why did he commit suicide back then, and why, after dying, did he send engagement gifts and want someone to be his ghost bride? The city center in the North District was where he originally died. His family had moved away long ago. We found an old lady who had lived there for many years to ask about him. The old lady was deaf and her eyesight wasn't good. When she saw us, she sighed, "Are you here to take me to the underworld?" I knew it, my time is almost up. Oh well, I'll go with you. People who are about to die can usually see reapers. I calmed the old lady down and explained the situation. After a while, she recalled and said, "Him, I remember him. Sigh, it was a long time ago. We were neighbors. That Calvin was so handsome back then, many female workers in the textile factory liked him. But he liked a girl from his own village. They dated for a long time and were even engaged, ready to get married. But somehow the wedding was called off. They said the girl got involved with the factory manager's son and looked down on young Calvin. When Calvin went to her house with the engagement gifts, her family beat him up. He was beaten badly and humiliated for being poor. After that, young Calvin lost all hope and shut himself in his house, refusing to eat or drink. His parents were heartbroken to see their son like that, so they sold their house, hoping to make the dowry more substantial. But on their way to the girl's house, it was dark and the road was slippery, and the old couple fell into the river and drowned. After young Calvin heard the news, not long after, he hanged himself in his room. They said he was still holding a gold bracelet when he died, supposedly the engagement gift he was giving to the girl. So this vengeful spirit died because of love. No wonder he was still obsessed with getting married after death. This must have been his dying wish. After listening, Stephen thought for a moment and suddenly asked, "Do you know the girl's name?" The old lady shook her head. "It's been too long, I don't remember her name. I think her last name was, sorry, I just forgot." Did the girl end up marrying the factory manager's son? Of course not. He was just playing with her, he didn't really like her. I heard she later got pregnant and married a worker, but that worker died not long after, and she became a widow. I think it's all karma. Hearing this, I felt like the plot was a bit familiar. My mom is also a widow, but she doesn't think it's her karma, she blames it all on me. We left the urban village. I asked Stephen when we were going to catch the vengeful ghost. Now that we knew what he wanted, should we arrange for him to meet the woman who abandoned him back then to resolve his resentment? Can you find the woman who abandoned him back then? I thought about it. I have an idea, but I still need to verify it. Just then, my mom suddenly called me and asked when I was coming home. "What's up? You usually don't care if I don't come home." My mom was silent for a long time before saying through gritted teeth, "Your sister is back, and she's acting crazy. What happened when you guys went out this afternoon? There's so much going on lately, don't mess around outside. Mom only has you two daughters. I'd be devastated if anything happened to either of you." I pursed my lips. This is so strange. She never usually talks to me in this tone. In her eyes, I'm just a burden. Coincidentally, I also needed to go back and find Wendy. That vengeful ghost must have left a trace of its resentment on her. Now that it has escaped, it might go back to find Wendy. Stephen looked at me. "I forgot to tell you just now, the last known location of that vengeful spirit was probably your home." "Well, thank you for telling me now." Stephen shrugged. "Your mom is so anxious for you to go back. It seems like it got there before us." My face darkened. Of course, I knew something was wrong when my mom's tone suddenly changed. I opened the book of life and death. Wendy's and my mom's names were gradually turning red. A name turning red means that person is facing a calamity. If they overcome it, they'll be fine. If not, they'll become a new lost soul. I didn't have time to explain much. I immediately applied to open the access rights and started forming hand seals. Heaven is round, earth is square, shrink the steps to inches, go. Shrinking steps to inches allows you to reach your destination within 5 minutes. This permission is usually only used when collecting lost souls, but I couldn't care less about that in this critical situation. I reached out to grab Steven, but he put his arm around my waist instead. You've been a Reaper for so many years and you're still using low-level magic. What the heck? I just used shrink steps to inches, and he calls it low-level magic. The next second, Steven raised his hand, I blinked, and we were already at my doorstep. Whoa, Steven is definitely a big shot. How else could he even teleport? Isn't that a spell only the king of the underworld can use? The moment I touched the door, Steven grabbed my hand. He looked at the door and found a talisman hidden behind the couplets posted on it. I took the talisman from his hand, my face instantly turning grim. This is an evil warding talisman. Has a Taoist priest intervened? Is it specifically to block us Reapers? An evil warding talisman is a type of Taoist charm that can repel evil spirits and has some effect on us Reapers. To put it bluntly, Reapers are neither human nor ghost, walking between the realms of yin and yang, inevitably accumulating a lot of negative energy. Steven's expression was calm. You'll have to ask yourself. You can't even get into your own house now. Take 2 steps back. Finally, I pulled out my soul-splitting hook and pried open the security door. As soon as I entered, I found it pitch black inside. 2 white candles were lit in the center of the living room, with a black and white photo placed on top. I walked in and took a look, my head swimming with anger. The black and white photo was mine. I'm not even dead yet, and they're already cursing me to die. What on earth are Mom and Wendy up to? I called out a few times, and finally, footsteps sounded in the darkness. Mom emerged slowly from the bedroom, holding a candle. Her wrinkled face was shrouded in a gloomy aura. You're back so soon. I looked at her suspiciously, aiming my soul-splitting hook at her. Where's Wendy? Why did you put out my black and white photo? Do you want me to die that badly? My mom looked up at me, let out 2 sinister laughs, didn't say anything, and just walked back into the bedroom holding the candle. Steven and I exchanged a look. The vengeful spirit is in this house. He immediately formed a hand seal, and soon a barrier enveloped the entire house. I quickly followed him into the bedroom. But as soon as I entered, I saw Wendy sitting on the bed, wearing a blood-red wedding dress. Her face was caked with white makeup, leaving only her red lips visible. She sat on the bed with a dazed expression, seemingly without any self-awareness. I looked closely and realized Wendy's soul was no longer in her body. What happened in such a short time? My mom put down the candle absent-mindedly and stood in the corner. And the shadow cast by the candle behind her writhed and twisted, finally transforming into the shape of a man. She took out a damp towel and wiped Wendy's hands. After doing all this, she pulled out the bracelet from her pocket and looked at me with a strange smile. Didn't you say this bracelet was an engagement gift? Does whoever wears it have to marry that ghost? After saying that, she actually walked towards me with the bracelet. Come on, Alice, be a good girl and put on the bracelet. You're Mom's good daughter. I've asked around. As long as we willingly offer him a soul, that ghost will let your sister go. I know you've always been jealous that Mom treated your sister better. As long as you're willing to take your sister's place and marry that dead guy, Mom will treat you just as well in the future. I looked at her coldly. Are you crazy? Why should I listen to you? Do you think I need your motherly love? I didn't have it when I was little, and I don't care for it now. A selfish mother, what good would your love do me? Hearing this, my mom seemed to be triggered and screamed at me like a madwoman. Are you blaming me? Isn't it your fault that your sister ended up like this? You've been bad luck since you were little, you jinxed your biological father to death, and you ruined our family. Shouldn't you atone for your sins? I looked at her with a half smile. She didn't seem to notice that the dark shadow behind her had already enveloped her entire body. She rushed towards me excitedly, holding 2 talismans in her hand. You have to listen today, whether you like it or not. It's not up to you. You're just like your deadbeat dad, you should have died a long time ago. I never should have given birth to you. I clearly had an abortion back then, but you still managed to survive. You're just a born troublemaker. The moment she came to stick the talismans on me, Stephen, who was standing nearby, wanted to stop her. But I stopped him instead and looked at my mom with a smile. So that's how it is. I was wondering why you hated me so much. Could it be that back then, you owed someone a love debt, you let someone down, so whenever you see me, you see the shadow of the person you let down, and that's why you despise me so much, right? When my mom heard this, her eyes instantly changed from vicious to terrified. You're talking nonsense. It was all your fault, you harmed your sister. It was all you. As she said this, she reached out to strangle me. I stood there motionless. The moment the 2 talismans touched my body, they made a sizzling, burning sound. I endured the pain, grabbed her hand, and squeezed it tightly. You know what you've done, don't you? Was it really my fault, or the consequences of your own actions? My mom shook her head frantically, her hands tightening around my neck. As long as I kill you, as long as you die, your sister and I will be fine. I sighed, not yet making a move. Then I saw the dark shadow that had been behind her suddenly materialize a pair of pale human hands. Those hands grabbed my mom's arms, as if embracing her, holding her from behind. Eve, I've waited 20 years for you. I finally found you. Hearing the man's voice, my mom trembled and instantly let go of my hand. She quickly turned around, looking everywhere for the source of the voice. And the dark shadow gradually solidified in the candlelight into a thin young man. His eyes were bloodshot, staring intently at my mom, a smile still on his lips. I've been waiting for you. I did it. You said that if I was willing to die for you, to prove my love for you, you would marry me. But I waited and waited, for so long, and I never saw you. Calvin. My mom screamed in terror. It's you. Get away from me. Don't come looking for me. You chose to die, it has nothing to do with me. We were never possible. You were the one pestering me. Your death has nothing to do with me. The man who appeared was the vengeful spirit we had been looking for, Calvin. I guessed right. The woman who jilted him back then was indeed my mom, Lily. I took 2 steps back, leaving space for the human and the ghost. Stephen supported me from the side, glanced at the human and the ghost, and said, "Should we take him now?" Clutching my arm, which was burned by the talismans, I replied coldly, "Let them catch up. If his wish isn't fulfilled, he'll always be a harmful spirit, unable to find release." Stephen looked at me with dark, unreadable eyes. "So you knew all along? This vengeful spirit is your biological father?" I didn't know at first. After I became a reaper, I knew I wasn't my mom's first husband's child. But I didn't care who it was. Anyway, my parents always thought I was bad luck. Even if I knew who my biological father was, what difference would it make? It wasn't until I heard the old lady's story in the urban village that I started to have suspicions. I never thought that heartless woman was actually my mom. The vengeful spirit showing up at our door from the beginning wasn't a coincidence at all. What goes around comes around. Debts always have to be paid. What's more, This biological father of mine was a hopeless romantic. After my mom saw Calvin's ghost, she went completely crazy. Calvin kept looking at her with sad eyes. My mom grabbed various things and threw them at him. Finally her gaze fell on the bracelet. "That's right, you found your way here because of this thing, didn't you? I'll destroy it right now, and see if you can still haunt me." Saying that, she tried to throw the bracelet out the window. But before she could throw it, Calvin's ghost stopped her. He held the bracelet in his hand, his expression sorrowful. "Eve, have you forgotten? This was the engagement gift I gave you back then. I just didn't have a chance to give it to you, now I can finally put it on you myself." My mom was dumbfounded, frozen to the spot. It wasn't until Calvin firmly placed the bracelet on her hand that she finally calmed down and began to kneel on the ground, begging Calvin to let her go. When Calvin didn't speak, she turned to beg me. But once that bracelet was put on, it would absorb a person's life force. She was now terrified of becoming like Wendy. In a fit of madness, she knocked over the candles, screaming that she would die with him. The candles fell to the floor, quickly setting the curtains ablaze. My mom screamed and ran around frantically, eventually falling out the window. And Calvin's spirit pursued her relentlessly, enveloping her body as they fell together. Seeing this, I immediately reached out to grab my mom, but Stephen pulled my hand back. "Reapers cannot interfere in human life and death. Your mother's life ends tonight. Everything is fated. She should have died back then. She borrowed your luck to live until now. Now that she's dead, you will no longer be cursed." I watched helplessly as she fell. My mom's name gradually disappeared from the book of life and death, turning into a spirit state. I could only close my eyes in resignation. More than 20 years of mother-daughter relationship had come to an end. Stephen raised his hand, and a wisp of black mist instantly drifted in from outside the window and landed in his palm. I glanced at it. It was Calvin's soul. With my mom's death, his obsession vanished. But he had caused the deaths of many people. Even in the underworld, he would be cast into the deepest hell to receive his punishment. Stephen patted my shoulder, telling me to grieve. My mom died from an accidental fall. Stephen helped me guide her soul after her death. But after she died, she also saw my identity as a reaper. She grabbed my hand, endlessly begging me to bring her back to life. I saw she was beyond reasoning. "I don't have that kind of power. You should find a better daughter in your next life." I watched Stephen send her spirit and Calvin's together to the underworld. And although Wendy didn't die, she lost a part of her soul from the fright and became mentally unstable, or what people commonly call insane. I could only send her to a mental hospital. As for the rich kid who was possessed by Calvin, he was later found near our apartment complex, dead from cardiac arrest. I was the one who reaped his soul. After all this was done, my Reaper colleague let out a long sigh. "Now that almost everyone in your family is dead, what about the positive energy you need?" I shook my head. It was because my mom borrowed my luck that I was plagued by negative energy. Now that my mom is dead, the negative energy around me is gradually disappearing. I just don't know, once the negative energy completely disappears, will I still be able to be a Reaper? Will I not be able to see you then? Hey, that's a good thing. At least you can live out your natural life. For us Reapers, unless we find a successor, even if our physical bodies in the human world die, we can never be truly free. I declined my Reaper colleague's invitation for a drink. I put on my Reaper cloak, shouldered my soul-splitting hook, and went out on patrol. But then I happened to see Stephen standing in front of a flower shop. He still looked like a high school student, holding a tablet in his arms. Following his gaze, I saw a young couple inside the flower shop, apparently buying flowers, their faces beaming with happy smiles. And above the heads of the man and woman, their names and causes of death appeared, indicating that this couple would become resentful spirits within 10 minutes. They were still so young. I greeted Stephen. He tilted his head, looked at me, and then said, "Have you met your quota for this month's performance? What kind of person is he? Why does he always give me the feeling that he's my boss?" I was taken aback and, after a moment, chuckled awkwardly. "If I don't meet the quota, will I be fired?" "Yes, and your salary will be docked." His expression was cold. I thought about it for a while, then shamelessly sidled up to him. "Then can you pull some strings? I really need this job." He glanced at me, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Are you trying to bribe me? Do you know who I am?" I blinked, looking at him. "Lord Hades, my direct superior. I wonder what kind of bribes you accept." He looked at me in surprise. "We'll see how you perform." With that, he walked straight into the convenience store in front of them and asked the couple who were about to die if he could borrow $20. The couple was stunned for a moment. After a while, the girl tugged at the boy's sleeve and took $20 out of her wallet. "This is all the cash I have. Do you need help?" Stephen didn't say anything, just gave the young couple a smile. "No, I just wanted to buy my girlfriend a bouquet of flowers, but I don't have enough money." After saying that, he looked around but didn't find any suitable flowers. The young couple enthusiastically gave him suggestions. Finally, Stephen bought 2 roses and casually handed them to me. At the same time, a chain reaction car accident occurred at the intersection outside the flower shop. But luckily, there were no fatalities. Holding the roses, I looked at Stephen in astonishment. Reapers are not allowed to interfere with human destiny. "You're breaking the law." Stephen looked at me intently. "Oh, then you can report me to the king of the underworld." I looked at him, speechless. "It's truly our blessing that hell has a king like you. Thanks for the compliment." We looked at each other and smiled.